Welcome to the Empty Nest Kitchen, where we're finding fun in the kitchen now that the kids have flown the coop. I'm Christine Van Bloem, a cooking teacher with over 25 years of experience, here to show you tips, tricks, and joy in your kitchen, all while trying something new. Let's get cooking.
Whoa, happy day. So, listen, one of the things that I do is I ask every person that I know and love that I think is awesome if they would be on the podcast. So, today I've got one of my favorite humans of all time. And I know she's like, oh my God, shut up. But my sweet, sweet, dear go getter of a sister in law, Laura Van Bloem. Welcome aboard, Laura.
Good morning. I am very excited to be here. You finally persuaded me.
Are you nervous?
No, because I'm talking to you, so I feel okay.
See, oh my gosh, you just made my whole day a good one right there. All right, so before we came on, I was telling Laura that I am now the workout queen because Jim came into town and it's really cheap, which is awesome because I'm all about it. And I said that after I'm done working out, I go to the hydrotherapy chair. And Laura said,
What's the hydrotherapy chair?
and it is delicious. It is the greatest thing. It's this lounge chair that you're on. So like your knees are propped up a little and you're at a bit of an angle.
Yeah.
And it's got warm water jets underneath that basically go up and down the length of your body.
Nice.
And you can decide how fast it goes and how hard the pressure is. And I'm like, give it all to me, right? I do like 80%. And then I put on Enya because I try to listen to like 90s hip hop
Ah,
and some 80s hair metal when I'm lifting, and then I
yeah.
switch to Enya when I get my 10 minutes on this precious machine.
I didn't know that was like a thing that gyms
It's
just
a
offer. That's
thing.
awesome.
It's a thing. And then they have a thing called a human touch. And it's this chair that you like put your arms kind of in these slots and you put your legs in and it kind of expands around you. And then you're supposed to do this zero gravity thing, which I did not do because I didn't know I
Mm.
was supposed to do it. And then it kind of squeezes you. And I got stuck in the chair. I couldn't get out of the chair. And a lady came in beside me and she seemed like they had just gotten them the day before. I'm like, hey, hi. Do you know anything about these chairs? Because like I could get my arms out, but I couldn't get my ankles out.
Oh my gosh.
And it was so funny. She's like, oh, it's really easy. I'm like, is it? Is it
I don't
really
think so.
easy? And she's like, did you do the zero gravity? I'm like, what's that? And I had to figure out how to like stop the whole machine because it
Where's
had
the emergency
grasped.
stop button?
There's no emergency stop. You know how they have that on a treadmill? They have the thing you clip to your clothes. When I did
Yeah.
cardiac rehab, they were like, do you have it clipped on? I'm like, what has happened here that they're so militant? But there's nothing like that for the human touch chair. So I just kind of look at it now as I walk by and go to my hydrotherapy bed.
I think the hydrotherapy bed sounds awesome, and you should just
Oh,
visit that.
it's so good. It's so good. It's my little treat when I'm done.
Yeah,
Yeah. So now I didn't bring Laura on just to talk about, all of the stuff that's us, because Laura and I could go on and talk for hours.
we could.
We could. But I brought Laura on because Laura is phenomenal. We are just about exactly the same age. She's older by like 2.5 weeks.
Yeah,
And then Laura works in nonprofit marketing, which is really interesting because I am a huge marketing fan, like huge. I love marketing, and you do too.
I do.
What
Yeah.
is your background? Like ultimately, where did you get started in all of this?
Yeah, well, I started out my career in traditional advertising agencies in New York City, right? The big agencies. I worked in media, I worked in account service, and our clients did TV commercials and radio commercials, and there was no social media then. There was nothing online then.
No
Actually,
cell phones.
no cell phones. Actually, I remember as a media buyer, so that's the person who buys the airtime, the commercial airtime between, during commercial breaks. And cable TV was a new thing. It
I
was
remember.
like, what is this cable? Because I bought off the networks. I bought CBS, ABC, NBC. And it was like, what is this cable thing going on. And it was really cheap because no one knew what the hell cable was. So life was very different back then. But the advertising was very traditional. It was very much like it was based on TV commercials, right? Like follow that model. So
Yeah.
things have changed obviously dramatically in marketing, especially with the onslaught of, cable TV dividing the whole media landscape. And then obviously we have social media and we have TikTok and we've got product placement and everything. So it's changed a lot. But I think even with all of the changes, even with all the changes going on with the media platforms that are out there, it's all still about connecting with the audience and telling a compelling story, no matter what you're selling, no matter what you're doing. And nonprofits, especially today, because a lot of funding is being pulled from them, nonprofits really need to talk about the impact they're making versus what they're doing. And my former organization was guilty of doing this. Lots of organizations are guilty of talking about what they do. Hey, we feed the hungry. Hey, we shelter the homeless. And that's terrific. But donors or customers, if you have a regular for-profit business, they want to know what the impact is. They want to know that they're, you know, putting their dollars in a good place. They want to know the value you bring. So even though the landscape has changed dramatically, it all still boils down to storytelling and connecting on an emotional level with your audience.
Yeah, that's amazing. And one of the reasons I thought it would be so great to have you on here is one of the things that's happening as we get older and our kids kind of move on and start creating their own lives is that we have more time than we feel like we've ever had, right? So many people go into volunteerism, right? And they start getting on boards because at our age, we have experience in things.
Right.
So they start getting on boards and all of that. And I thought having somebody who's worked from the inside of this is so valuable and it brings so much to it. I mean, I even worked at a nonprofit in marketing, briefly for about 18 months locally here. And you are doing it on a bigger scale. And I just think you have such a grasp on how it all works. So, what kind of nonprofit jobs, I guess, have you held recently?
Yeah, so I worked for probably in the last 10 plus years. I shifted from for-profit, at traditional advertising, took some time off to stay at home with my kids. And then when I went back, I really moved to the nonprofit sector. The first one was technically it was like a television production company. It was a nonprofit television production company where most of the programs aired on PBS. And even though that was a nonprofit, it kind of functioned like a corporate office. It functioned like the fundraising was my boss would go meet people, shake their hand, and they'd be like, okay, we'll give you money. So it was not your traditional nonprofit experience. Then the last organization I moved to was a social services and behavioral health organization, very traditional nonprofit, very traditional fundraising, where you're, sending out little postcards to people so they can send in their check for the hunger, the Thanksgiving meal, or, we had talking to major donors, people who give big dollars, meeting for them for coffee and lunches and wining and dining them. And then we had special events and then we had government grants. So that was very traditional fundraising. So it was a very different animal. But what I did at both places, I did part marketing and part fundraising. And my last job was supposed to be all marketing. That's what I was hired for. At the time, we didn't have a director of development, so I kind of slid into that role. And what ended up happening was most of my time, effort, and energy was focused on fundraising, a lot less on marketing, which is the stuff I like to do. So I did that for about 2.5 years. And after 2.5 years, I realized that it just was not what I wanted to do. I wanted to get back to marketing. So took a break and resigned back in the fall. And now I'm trying to figure out my next step.
Aha, you are in the right place. Now, what's the difference between development and marketing?
So development is just another name for fundraising, right? So development is bring in the money. So I was responsible for bringing in the money. Marketing and development work hand in hand. They have to work hand in hand. So if the development team decides, okay, we want to execute a campaign, a fundraising campaign, obviously the marketing team will be a part of that. So they go very much hand in hand. But marketing can do other things too. It can talk, can expand brand awareness. It can, do PR. It does crisis communication. So marketing has all its own responsibilities as well. But in general, development is fundraising and marketing is how you're putting yourself out there, but they have to work hand in hand.
They really do. And I mean, we won't get into politics, but we know we are living in a tumultuous time, right? And we are watching all of these, especially smaller nonprofits, sort of start to, you know, I worked in marketing. We have family members who have worked in advertising and marketing. And we know that advertising and marketing are always the first thing that's cut, right? That's always, and it always makes me crazy because it's the last thing that should be cut because that is how you communicate to everyone, right?
Right,
It's
right,
and it looks like you've dropped off the face of the earth and but a lot of places now can't afford to bring or to maintain a full-time marketing person on their
right.
staff. It's such an issue and people who aren't marketing folks, of course, I mean they don't think about it, right?
Yeah, and I now that I've been on the inside of a nonprofit, I can understand it because when I was development director, my job was to bring in about $8 million a year, and if I didn't, you either cut programs or people got fired. And that's a heavy load, right? That's a big deal. And the work we were doing was really important. We were really saving some people's lives. So I understand why marketing would be the first to go from a budgetary standpoint, because it's probably better to cut marketing than to cut Bob's the job, the accountant or whatever,
Right, right.
or cut this program. But as you're saying, Christine, the most important thing is to be out there and be communicating with donors and government organizations that have grants and things like that. And right now, the big hit that a lot of these organizations are feeling is the government grants are drying up. So in the fundraising world, there's really kind of three buckets. There's individual donors, like just you and me, people who give to programs. There's institutional donors, and those are corporations, organizations, right? So that's like, the big bank who supports the local 5K race, stuff like that. And then there's government grants. So there's a million government grants out there for all different kinds of programs and organizations. So because the government grants tend to be drying up right now, or at least they're not stable, there's uncertainty with them. Nonprofits really have to shift to focusing on individual donors and corporations, institutional donors. And those donors really want to know, like, okay, well, what are you doing with my dollars? I want to know that for sure my dollar is being used well. And individual donors themselves are unsure about the economy, right? Like fundraising in general, like donations in general is starting to pull back because everyone's uncertain about the economy.
Right.
People's 401ks are in jeopardy. So it's like, I don't want to really give right now if I'm not sure that my dollars are being spent well. So that's another reason why, if you are going to do some marketing nonprofits, you really got to make sure you're talking about the impact you're doing so that people feel like there's value there, that it's worth to donate to your organization.
Yeah, wow. That's awesome. You really know your stuff here.
I try.
I tell you what though, NPR gets my money every month though.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're so smart. They get you hooked up. It's my local shout out to WYPR in Baltimore. Thank you very much. I love WYPR. And they're so smart because they get you on that monthly thing. I don't even think I could stop it if I wanted to. Like, I don't have a clue. I don't
Yeah.
have a clue how to do it. And I
Yeah.
don't give very much, but it's like something that goes every month. And every time I turn on the radio, I feel a little proud.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's so silly. Or when they say for, contributing or sustaining members. And I'm
Yes.
like, yeah, that's me.
That's me. Give me my tote
Woohoo.
bag.
Give me my tote bag. I think we got a mug. I think we got a mug, and it was one of those metal ones. I hate those. So this is something that you're doing now in like a contract capacity for different nonprofits, right? That's sort of the direction you're going.
Yeah, so I took some time off when I resigned in the fall, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to do my own thing because I like the idea of helping nonprofits who can't afford or don't have the bandwidth to have like a seasoned marketing executive, right? I kind of feel like I like to help the underdogs. Like I'm not going to go work at the Red Cross. Like they have plenty of people and plenty of money doing what they need to do, and they do wonderful work. But I want to help the folks who are a little bit like the underdogs, the ones who just don't really know what they're supposed to be doing from a marketing standpoint. A lot of these organizations tend to just do the same things over and over and over again and hope it's going to work. But, like I said before, the landscape has changed. You've got to talk to your donors differently. So that's kind of exciting. So my goal is to connect with folks who need some support. And I'm focusing on nonprofits, but what I am realizing is that professional service providers have a similar issue, have a similar problem. If you think about like, I don't know, a law firm or an accounting firm or something, they often will say, we're the best,
Yeah.
we
Okay.
are the best, we win the most cases, which is great. But you got to talk to the consumer, you got to talk to the customer, because customers and donors are selfish. They just want to know what's in it for me, right? So if you're a law firm, you need to tell them, I'm going to get you money, or I'm going to win cases for you. Or if you're an accounting firm, like, hey, we're going to take the burden of finances and, taxes off the table so you can grow your business. Whatever the impact is, but a lot of times nonprofits and professional service providers tend to talk about what they do versus the impact they make. And I think if they can just flip that script a little bit, if they can flip that a little bit, it'll make a big difference, because again, people are selfish and they just want to know what's in it for me. So like a donor is selfish too. Like, I want to know my money's going in a really good place. I want to know when I send in that $100, what's happening? Okay, great. You fed 10 people this week in your soup kitchen, but what was the impact of feeding those people? Maybe Bob was able to pay for his medicine because he didn't have to pay for groceries. It's stuff like that, that the story behind the activity that people really want to understand.
Oh, that's so good. And I'm sitting here going, why do I donate to WYPR? What am I getting from it? And I guess I get that little ooh when they say sustaining members,
Yeah, yeah. And
right? And I get
it
to listen to WYPR. Like
well,
it's
yeah, I
still
mean,
on
that's
the air.
it's still on the air. Yeah,
Yeah. With
right.
my
And
piddly donation.
yeah, but you know what? It's what's important to you and what connects with you emotionally, right? And sometimes it's a matter of, you know, making you feel good, right? Like, I
Yeah.
feel good, I'm doing something good, I'm making an impact, and that itself is a reason to donate. But you gotta match up the value proposition to make sure it's something that's in sync with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So has this been an easy transition for you? Was this like a cut and dry, oh, this is a snap, I'm gonna leave this job and now I'm doing this?
No, it's been terrifying, and I feel like I'm doing it very poorly.
What? No, stop. Okay,
So, well,
so wait, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll tell so I was listening to so I'm figuring out like how to be a marketing consultant, right? So there's a gazillion webinars and podcasts and websites out there that, how to do it. So I was listening to one and I was laughing out loud because she's saying, listen, I know what you're all doing. You're building your big fancy website. You don't need a website to be a consultant. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm building a website, not that fancy. I'm building a website and I'm like, as soon as my website's done, then I'll tell the world that I'm ready. And this person was saying, like, you don't need that. Just start telling people right now. And there's been this, I guess it's fear of rejection, right? So I'm afraid, like, once I
Sure.
start telling people and no one calls me back, then I'm gonna be
Right.
like, oh, maybe this was a terrible idea. So it's been, I don't know, I've been kind of like stuck. I've been going through the motions, like getting the website together, pulling my materials together, putting offers together and stuff like that. But I just haven't told anybody about it. I'm not like, the ironic thing is I'm not promoting myself. I'm not marketing myself, which
Well,
is
that is
crazy.
that is so common,
Yeah.
right? That is such a common thing. And you even see it with marketing agencies. When I see one that's really good at marketing themselves, personally, I get a little excited because I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, they're taking the time to do that. But it is true. I mean, I tell you what, I have always been in the same boat you're in, right? When it's together and when I have everything right. And I don't know if it's just post heart attack or post COVID or whatever. And now I'm like, I don't care. I did a logo on Canva. I bought like a set of logos that you could customize. And I did that. I did have somebody wonderful put the website together for me, but it's a simple website. I mean, it's getting more developed as I add services and all of that. But I think you and I get stuck in that it's got to be perfect
Yeah.
and then I'll do it, which results in no forward movement,
That's exactly right. That's
right?
exactly right. That's
Yeah.
exactly, that's
Yeah.
it.
And now I'm kind of like running down the street naked,
Oh, yeah.
just telling, just like, okay, it's great. It's
Yeah.
great. And I feel a lot more relief. It's kind of a go before you're ready sort of thing. And I've
Yes.
known you a very long time. And I know that you are not a pull trigger and aim kind of
Yeah.
person. You are look at the target, measure the distance,
Yeah. Yeah.
do the whole thing. And now I think you need to pull the trigger and aim.
Yeah,
right? And just
and
go.
ironically, I'm having like my final meeting with my web person today. So the website's live. I'm just making final adjustments. So it's like now I'm out of excuses. I'm literally out of excuses. So
Yeah.
I just need to do it. And I think part of my challenge was, or a challenge I put on myself was when I first resigned, I wasn't 100% sure, should I branch out on my own or should I just go get another job? Just get a marketing job at a nonprofit. And I was looking at both paths at the same time. So I wasn't giving either option my full attention. I was like doing both, and I was doing both half-assed, right? So if you're doing something half-assed, it's not going to happen. So it was only just until very recently I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop looking at LinkedIn jobs. I'm going to stop and I'm going to focus on this business. So I feel like I'm like, okay, now I'm ready. Now I'm going to do it. So
That's
it's
so
happening.
good.
It's
That's
happening.
so good. It's
Yeah.
happening. It's all happening.
Yeah.
Do you think it's really common to see this sort of play out at our age? And we're both late 50s, right?
Yeah.
Laura and I met, seriously, I think we were 23.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
It's been a minute. It's been
Yeah.
a minute. Do you think that it's that a lot of women our age are wrestling with things like this?
I do. And I think one of the reasons why, which I think is a good reason, is because work-life balance has become more of a thing that people are paying attention to, right? I mean, for until my last job, I was working crazy hours all the time and go,
Yeah.
go, go. And I have to succeed and I have to be, I have to impress my boss and I have to do all these things. And I think COVID helped us all look at like work-life balance. And I think it's a good thing that we're taking a look at. I never thought about that before. And I had two kids growing up in my house and I was always like crazy. So it's funny now that they're out of the house, now that they're gone, I'm like, hey, I think I would like a better work-life balance and they're not here. So it's strange. I feel like I'm late to the party and I feel like I should have done this a long time ago, but the work-life balance is really important. And I will say I am married and my husband is the breadwinner, so I do have the opportunity to be able to do this. If I was, let's say, a single mom and the breadwinner, I don't know if I would be doing this because I would be too afraid not to have income for a while. So I feel very fortunate that I'm able to do that. But yeah, I think right now I think people women our age especially are kind of like F this man, like I've been killing myself for a long time. It's time for me to find some balance. So I credit really COVID for kickstarting that, at least for me.
Yeah, and I think it is something that the younger generation has. I don't know if I would say that they have nailed it because sometimes I think they go a little too far in the other direction,
Mm.
right? But I think they're kind of like, no, I'm okay because we are definitely that Filofax. Do you remember the Filofax,
Sure.
right? I was so desperate for one. I would go to Bloomingdale's and look at them. I couldn't afford them at all. But that generation of it was our job to have it all, right? That's what Gen X
Yeah.
was because our moms had to be in the workforce. I think both of our moms were
Yep.
nurses, right? And our moms had to be in the workforce, and mom came home and made dinner, and mom took care of business. And you had a single mom, so your mom was really stretched. And it was our job to come in and get the job and climb the ladder and work really hard and have the kids and still do all the stuff at home. And we both have excellent husbands.
Yes.
We do. Really supportive, really great guys. But we did and do all the stuff, right? We maintain the household, we take care of all the set, and that was kind of our job. And now I think the younger generations, the millennials, and maybe what's the one? Is it Gen Alpha? Or who comes
I,
after millennials? Gen Z.
I
Gen
Gen Z.
Z.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what our kids are. They have come in and now they're like, yeah, that stinks. I don't want any part of that.
yeah,
And it's really interesting seeing it play out, but it's more interesting for me to see it play out with people 50 plus, to see it play out with women 50 plus. And the
yeah,
idea of a career is so different now than what it was. I mean, 30 years ago, can you imagine saying you're a nonprofit marketing consultant?
yeah, right.
Or you're a service business marketing consultant. Can you
Yeah,
imagine that? People would have laughed at you.
yeah.
You would have had to have the PO box, you would have had to have the
The PO.
pager, right? You would have had to have all those things.
Yeah.
The working from a home office, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So I think it's really cool how it's all playing out now. And I love that you're jumping on the train.
Yeah. Well, you said two things I want to comment on. One is regarding the younger generation. I, I'm on TikTok and these things get in my feed, and then once you click on it, like you see it 100 times. But I keep seeing these short form videos with these men, 20s, 30s, who say your partner is your partner, not your mom, or your wife is your partner, not your mom. The whole idea being that like you need to do the dishes and you need to cook dinner from a
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
You need to, and I'm just like, that's amazing that that's on TikTok, right? Like that would never have been in our generation. Like these guys who
Never.
are saying like, my partner is not my mother and she's not taking care of me. I'm gonna be, pull my own weight in my relationship. So the fact that there's just this expectation that kids today want a work-life balance and all that like house stuff is a little bit more evenly divided. It's fantastic, right? That's what we want. You want your
Yeah,
kids to have a better life than you. So this next generation, I think, is really embracing that, which is
yeah,
wonderful. And then the other thing you said, which is so true right now, I mean, I'm deep diving into this world, so of course I'm more in tune to it, but this idea of fractional employees, like a fractional CMO or a fractional CFO, which is code for part-time, because fractional sounds sexier than part-time, but fractional is like all the rage right now because of
yeah,
what you were talking about before. Maybe a smaller organization doesn't have the budget to hire someone full time and pay them for 12 months and pay their benefits and everything. But hey, you want to come work 10, 20 hours a week and I can pay you part of a salary and not have to pay you benefits? That's really attractive for a lot of organizations. So this fractional buzzword I'm hearing everywhere, which is it's similar to a consultant. Like a consultant is kind of could be considered fractional if you're steady and you're staying on, or you could come in for a project and leave. But yeah, fractional is kind of the thing. And I think that allows a lot of people our age who are seasoned, informed, have lots of experience in their industry to go dip into a couple of different organizations and work sort of part-time, fractionally, and make a career out of it.
yeah. And I think there are two things that have to come from that, right? So I think the number one is if you are a fractional employee at this kind of upper level because of all the experience that we have, then I really do think that it's important that you, as the provider there, maintain that you're doing 10 or 20 hours a week. Not that you're going to go in and do the job 40 hours a week and just not
Right,
charge them or anything. That's
right.
a really important thing to make sure, because I know you are like you will give it all, and it's hard to do it that way. But hopefully somebody like us comes in and because you're a fractional employee, you are really focused. And I mean, especially if you're not in the office, you don't waste a lot of time with the water cooler stuff, right?
Right.
You're a focused person getting it done. And then the other thing is, and I think this is really tricky. I think boomers are incapable of this, and I think a lot of Gen Xers are, but you have to, as management, you have to be really forward thinking in changing how you have looked at employees for your
Mhm.
whole career, right? Because I have worked for people who are just absolutely brilliant. They're so good, but they do get a little, stuck in, no, I need somebody who's here 40 hours a week, sitting at a desk doing and that's not the world anymore. And I know we're having that boomerang effect, right? Of work from home was everything, and now they're trying to pull people back into the office. And I think we'll end up somewhere that's a happy medium for a lot of people, right? Because employers want to know that they are getting the value, they're getting the effort from the employees for what they're being paid. And employees want to know that they're being appreciated and, with flexibility because I think flexibility is the most important thing that's out there for a lot of people now to go back with that work-life balance. But I think as somebody who's running a business or running a nonprofit, I think you really have to look at how you think and do you need to maintain some or create or develop some flexibility in how you look at these employees? Because I think a fractional employee, somebody at a CMO level like you, to me, it's such a no-brainer
Yeah,
right?
right,
If you're,
right,
why would you not take the woman who has, decades of experience in this field, who can really zoom in and give you what you need, 10 hours, give you the
right.
10 hours, and maybe it goes to 20, and then maybe they decide they want to bring a person on, who knows how it goes out. But
Yeah.
I just think it's such a great way for people in Gen X to kind of develop that next stage.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And my last organization, there was some struggle with that, with the hybrid working. It was just not the culture. And I remember talking, it was actually an HR woman. I remember talking to her, and when the days she wasn't in the office, people would say, "Enjoy your day off." It's like, it's not a day off. I'm just work. She had young kids. She's like, "I'm working
Yeah.
from home." So some places, just the culture is just a little out of whack, and they don't understand that. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone does hybrid, or almost everyone does hybrid. I mean, a lot of organizations do hybrid. And yeah, it was just interesting that that place just couldn't catch up.
You couldn't see it.
Yeah.
They couldn't see it. I
I
I don't
think
know.
too, and I'm sorry, just one, I think
Yeah.
too, a lot of that is driven by the leadership, right? So
100%.
if the leadership believes in its people and trusts that they are doing the work, then hybrid is obviously a much more open or acceptable way to go. But if you have a leader who doesn't trust his people and just doesn't think they're doing the work, thinks they're slacking off all the time, then hybrid's going to be a challenge. And that was one of the things in one of the organizations I worked at. The leadership just didn't think that people were doing the work when they were home. So
Yeah. Well, you get that one bad apple, right?
yeah,
If you get that one person who really isn't doing the work, right?
yeah,
Because it happens where
yeah,
we'd be fools to
yes,
think that everybody is working diligently at home all the
yeah,
time, just like in the office.
right,
Right. And I worked in an office where we would have to talk a lot about different things. And if we would get off on a tangent, I could see we would get the eyeball, and it's like, well, that's part of the collaboration and everything.
yeah,
But when you get that person who's not, like, you go and ping them and you don't get a response for an hour and a half,
right, yeah,
something's going on. They're going to lay on the hydrotherapy bed.
yeah, right,
So,
right.
all right. So you have two boys,
Hmm.
two fabulous boys, right? You have two fabulous boys, and one has graduated college and
Yes.
has moved to California, California dreaming, doing the
Yeah.
LA thing. We love
Yeah.
him. We're so proud of him. And then you have your second son who is came ready to graduate college.
Yes.
We're so excited. That last tuition payment is the greatest.
Yeah.
Isn't
Woohoo.
that so good?
Yes,
Um,
I paid that before I quit my job.
yeah. That's the thing,
Mhm.
right? It opens you up so much. But then he is moving to Boston to continue his education.
Right.
And you're based in New Jersey, but I mean, just to say, you can take clients all over the country, of course. But what's it like? Because I have a boomerang. I have one who's living at home with us temporarily, picture the air quotes, and then one that lives an hour away that we talk to every single day. Same time zone, right? It's easy. What's it like having your kids so far away?
It was really hard for me at first when my older son moved to California, but it's funny when he first went away to college, I was very sad, like, oh, my son's going to college. And for some stupid reason, I thought I was never going to like talk to him or see him again. And then you realize, you kind of talk to him and you see him quite often when they're in college because they come home quite a bit. But the one thing that was great with my older son is we have a good texting relationship, right? He's not necessarily going to call me all the time, but we'll just text each other goofy things. So I love that about our relationship, that, just like, oh, I saw this funny thing and thought of you. And then a lot of times if I'm just in the car, I'll just be like, I'll just call him. Be mindful of the time change, the
Right.
3 hour difference, but just call him. So, and between holidays and stuff, I'll see him a couple times a year. So I've adjusted to that, and I think he's probably going to be on the West Coast for a long time. So I've adjusted to that. But then my younger guy, I was kind of like, well, he's going to graduate from college and come home. So at least I'll have one of them in the house. And then recently decided to go to Boston to finish or to continue his education. And then I think he's gone after that. Like I don't think he's coming back. So I was I was prepared mentally that my older son was not returning from California. Like, okay. But I was kind of like, oh, I thought the younger guy was coming home. So I'm super excited for him. It's exactly what he wants, right? I'm so proud of him. I'm thrilled, but I'm like, oh, this is really it, right? He'll be home for the summer for like 2 months, and then I think he's gone. I think he's gone after that. So it's funny, I have people ask me, have you changed like the older son's bedroom yet and stuff like that? And I haven't, because I just was like, well, it's kind of a guest room because there's a bed in there. But actually, I was thinking this summer I'm going to clean out his room and timify it. Like it's not, he doesn't live there anymore.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's still some stuff in the closet that he doesn't need that I'm just going to get rid of. So I think I'm finally ready to take his room and, make it more like a guest room and less like his old bedroom. The
Yeah.
younger guy, I'll give a little more time because we'll see. He'll come home hopefully over holidays and stuff for graduate school. But yeah, so it's I feel like this change of not change of plan. It was always the plan for the younger guy to go to graduate school, but now that it's a reality, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, this is really happening. Like we're really empty nesters now.
Well, and you're just a few minutes out of New York City. It's not like you're living in the middle of a cornfield and there are
Yeah,
no
right.
jobs near you,
Yeah,
right? So I can see why you would think, oh yeah, of course he's coming back
yeah,
because, all of that. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
yeah.
We had a great time when we went and visited your son in California.
Yes, that was very
That
fun.
was a good time. We're gonna make that an annual trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, things like, so now that it's my husband and I in the house, and we live in a suburb of New York City, and it's a real easy commute for him. So as long as he's working in the city, it makes sense for us to stay in this house. But, he's going to retire in, I don't know, a couple of years. And then it's like, well, we probably shouldn't hang on to this house because it's a silly for us to have it. So I'm starting to look around the house and look at like anything like, ooh, that door is crappy and we need to change that door. Oh, that needs to be painted. And just in preparation for several years down the road, we're going to sell the house. We've been here for 20 years. So like you've been in a house for 20
Yeah.
years. You don't see the cracks, right? You're just like, but so now I'm looking at it with fresh eyes and like, holy cow, like there's stuff that needs to be fixed. But we're giving ourselves several years to complete these projects. It's not like put the house on the market next week and have to do a million things.
Right. Right. I don't know. I do the same thing because I would love to stay where we are. And our house isn't huge. Our house is only like 1900 square feet. It's not that big. But it's perfect for us. It is the perfect two-person house. So
Yes.
with three of us in here right now, I'm a little like, but it totally is. And I think about the retiring because my husband's going to retire from teaching next year. Now, he'll still be in his 50s, so he's got to get a job. Like we're not those people. You cannot retire from teaching and then just live where we live and skate. So I'm like, well, you should work till 62. Hopefully, Social Security is still around. But I was thinking about, and I don't really have any plans to stop working.
Mm.
I'm sure it'll happen at some point, especially if I lose my mind or something. But I love what I do so much. I don't want to stop. Do you kind of feel the same way? Or do you kind of feel like, no, this is a great thing. I love the marketing. I'm going to stick with it for a little while and then maybe I'll retire? Or you're such a go-getter.
Yeah, well, because I haven't really done it yet.
You've done it.
I mean, like I haven't done it in this aspect, doing the marketing consultant aspect of it. I think once I get started in it, and if I'm really liking it, why not keep going? I mean, because
Right?
then it'll be on my own terms. If for
Yeah.
some reason it goes south and it's not what I expect and I'm not enjoying it, then yes, I'll retire at some point. And also, my husband's a couple years older than me, so we've kind of figured he'll probably retire first. And I don't know, I would, as long as I have flexibility, I imagine I would keep flexibility and I'm enjoying it and I'm making a
That's
little
it.
money, then I'll keep doing it. Like
That's
why
it.
stop? I think I'm not in a situation where I'm going to have any grandkids anytime soon. That's
Yeah.
far off. So, that could change things in 10 years or something. But
Oh my
yeah,
God.
until that happens, I can't imagine me, because one of the things too is because I'm not working and I've got time on my hands during the day, I feel extremely guilty. I do not like having
Yes.
free time.
Yeah.
I feel uncomfortable with having free time. So I spend my whole day working on my business, like taking a webinar, I'm reading books, like I'm doing all the things, but except doing my business. So, but I feel guilty if I am not working towards that. I find it very uncomfortable to have too much downtime. So I can't imagine me, unless I'm physically and mentally incapacitated in some way, I can't imagine me just sitting around all day. I'm not that person.
I can't imagine. I can't
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
If people want to find you, where can they find you?
So my website is VB, as in Van Bloom, very beautiful. I don't know what to, I'm trying to,
Very beautiful. I
Victor
love
Bravo, Victor
it.
Bravo, VB Communications Group, vbcommunicationsgroup.com. Or you can find me on LinkedIn, Laura Van Bloom on
I
LinkedIn.
will put a link to your website, and I will put link to your LinkedIn
Yeah.
on the show notes for anybody who's interested. All right, last question. Favorite meal, last meal. What are you eating?
Oh, God. Oh,
It's either a steak or a pork chop.
I wasn't prepared for that.
Oh.
Yeah, it would probably be a ribeye with mashed potatoes
Mm.
and like some kind of grilled vegetable, like a grilled asparagus or something.
Mm.
Yeah. Hmm.
Asparagus for a last meal. That's a bold move.
Well, I don't know, like a
Yeah.
grilled something. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely mashed potatoes, definitely
Yeah.
steak. Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah.
All right. You're my meat and potatoes gal.
Maybe a béarnaise sauce.
Oh, yum. Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
Or,
That's I can show you how to make a béarnaise sauce really easily in a measuring cup if you want to
oh,
say. It's
wow.
really easy.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll show you.
I'll take it.
It doesn't quite go with all the Mediterranean diet stuff that I'm doing and eating now, but I'm like, I refuse to give it all up, right? I think my last meal is going to start with nacho cheese, like a lot of nacho cheese, but I want it to be really hot because I like
Yeah,
it when it's really melty.
yeah.
And then I'm going to have lobster and peaches.
Interesting. All
Yeah,
right.
I think that a fresh, ripe peach during late summer is the single best thing you can ever eat,
Mm, yeah.
especially if the juice rolls down your elbow. I love
I
that.
would add though, I would also add that I would have to have a warm chocolate chip cookie at the end.
Oh, okay.
Love, 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 love chocolate chip cookies. So I would have to have that at the end.
Oh,
Yeah.
the things you learn,
Good things
the
you
things
learn.
you learn. You're very sweet for coming on and doing this with me. Thank you.
I had a ball. Thank you so much for having
It's
me.
easy, right?
Yeah.
I'm hitting Maureen, sister-in-law Maureen, next. I can't wait to add her into the mix. So we'll see.
Excellent.
I'm so lucky that I have all of these wonderful bonus family members,
Yes, I
and
agree.
that I don't look at it like my husband's family or my family. It's just all my family.
Yeah, I do
Yeah,
too. I agree with that.
I think we're really lucky.
We are very lucky. I
We
agree.
are.
Absolutely.
Look at us.
It's
Look at us.
wonderful.
All right. Thanks for doing this, Lo. I appreciate it. I love you very much. Don't
Thanks for
say it. I
having
know it
me.
makes you uncomfortable.
I love you too.
All right, guys. So you can find Laura's contact info. She's really spectacular. If you have a nonprofit, work for a nonprofit, you're on a nonprofit board or a service business, reach out to Laura. She's got it going on. And you know it, as always, I'll see you in the kitchen.
I don't. Bloom.